Hi everyone, thank you for joining this session.
Welcome. I'm Sandy.
Modern Data 101 presents the Modern Data Masterclass.
I spent the last 17 years helping startups and enterprises turn messy, unreliable data into something people and now AI systems can actually trust. And over that time, I've learned two simple truths. First, it's always the algorithm that usually gets all the credit. And second, the data foundation does all the heavy lifting, but leaders and organizations tend to ignore the boring, heavy lifting task. Now we are in this moment where everyone is talking about AI agents. Enterprises are experimenting, pilots are everywhere, and honestly, the patterns and guardrails are still being figured out week by week. But one thing that is already crystal clear, without robust, reliable, well designed data infrastructure, you cannot scale AI agents in a way that's accurate, safe, or secure. That's why today's session is about data product readiness for AI agents. I call it that way, but in plain English, how do you know if your data is fit for purpose before you wire it into the shiny agentic framework? So, if you have ever asked yourself, do we have the right columns in place? Do we have the quality checks in place? Do we know who owns this data and can we actually govern it? Then you are in the right place. Here's what you will take away today: a readiness checklist that you can literally run tomorrow, and a maturity radar that will show you exactly where your org is strong and where it's shaky. Let's get started. Now, why should you listen to me? In my 17 years career, I have built data platforms for major organizations across different industries. In my 5 years at AWS, I have worked with some of the top companies helping build data capabilities using modern architecture patterns and frameworks. I love building stuff. And tonight's framework comes straight out of that builder mindset. It's practical, it's something that you can pick up and start working on. I love speaking, and that's why I'm here. I believe knowledge compounds faster when we exchange stories. And I love working with people. Data problems are never just technical, they are human. I'm here to partner with you. So if anything lands today, connect with me afterwards and let's keep the conversation rolling. Now, here's what I'm going to cover. First, we will define what a data product is so that we are on the same page throughout the conversation. Then we will zoom in on the AI agent, look at the different components of AI agent and how data, especially data products, can play a role in the agentic architecture. We will look at a maturity map where we'll see how you can assess where you are today, do a gap analysis, and create an implementation roadmap so that you can start working on maturing your data products for the new agentic consumers. And then we'll also map the human side. We'll look at what kind of team structures you need to evolve into, what sort of roles you need to either hire or train for and upskill to. So, what is a data product? Think of raw data like a messy warehouse, boxes everywhere, unlabeled, hard to navigate. A data product is the polished storefront. You have got curated shelves, clear signage everywhere, reliable stock, and easy access for your customers. It's clean, it's reusable, it's well documented, and it's built for consumption by humans, by dashboards, or by AI agents. Until your data behaves like a product, anything built on top of it, applications, models, agents, they are all standing on shaky ground. Let's make this real. How do you know something is a data product? What are the properties that define it? These are the four traits that you can check. It should be findable. It should be easy to discover. It should be cataloged somewhere, should be tagged, it should be searchable. If someone needs to ask in Slack where the latest version of so and so data set is, it is not a data product. Consumers should be able to find them on a catalog. It should be accessible, should not be locked behind tribal knowledge. There should be standard APIs to access it, or query points that let people to run SQL on top of it. Um, or or AI agents can uh, access them through those ports. It should be reusable. So it's not just a one-time export. There should be clear documentation. There should be rich metadata and context that make it safe to use again and again on a daily basis or an hourly basis without breaking things. And it should be interoperable. It should speak the language of the ecosystem. It should have common schemas, clean contracts, format, standards. You can basically plug a data product into different systems and it will just work. And these are the sort of properties that you need to take in your design considerations when you plan building a data product. Now that we have defined a data product, let's define what an AI agent is and basically break it down into the components that make up an AI agent. First of all, an AI agent is a system. It can perceive input, it can make certain decisions, and it can take actions, often autonomously, that is without any human interruption, based on a particular goal. Unlike traditional software, AI agents can reason, they can plan, they can use tools, and they can interact with users or systems with natural language or through APIs. Now, before we talk about data, let's get familiar with the components of an AI agent. The colored blocks you see here in the diagram. The core LLM is the engine. It understands text, it generates responses, and reasons over input. But on its own, the LLM, the large language model, it is just a smart guesser. It basically guesses whatever you ask it to do, right? The planning module is the brain of the agent. It is that module that breaks down a big problem into smaller tasks and decides how to go on in solving that problem. The tool use component is where agents get the ability to use tools like searching the internet, writing an email, accessing your Salesforce, CRM systems, right? So the tool use are like the hands of the agent where it can go and interact with the external environment. Now, to be intelligent, agents need memory, short-term memory for conversations, things that need to be done now, long-term memory to remember facts and past decisions. None of these components work well without high quality data assets. And that's what we are going to point out. Like what sort of data assets are we talking about for each of these components? Let's start with the input. When you look at the data component in input, it's usually users entering prompt or users giving instructions to the AI agent. Now, these users could be another AI agent, another system, or a human being. Whoever it is, the agent needs to understand what sort of user is interacting with it. What are the user's preferences? What context does the user come with, right? And in order to understand that, the agent needs that kind of data. And those data and information can be created into a data product that is always searchable. So for example, when I interact with an agent, the agent would understand this is Sandy. He is an architect. He asks me technical questions. He has expertise in AI. His date of birth is so and so. He's of that, he's this many years old, etc., etc. And it forms that context before it talks to me, right? So that it's much more personalized. So when you create applications through generative AI that needs personalization, this kind of data, the user profile data, becomes really important. The other sort of data products are prompts, right? So prompts, when casually written, can be just prompts that you would instruct, for example, Chat GPT with. But prompts can be really engineered and productized in enterprise environment where you need repeatability, where you need reusability, where you need versioning, right? So, and all of these things become data products for the input component of the AI agent. On the other hand, if you look at the core LLM, obviously large language models are trained on huge data sets, right? And the large language model providers like OpenAI or Meta or Mistral, Anthropic, all of them have their own data governance and data product methodologies, and the data sets used for training the large core LLM is what we call the pre-training data. Usually in your enterprises, if you're not building any models, you will not need to think about that. That's the generic data that the models are trained on. But if you are fine tuning a model, if you are using methodologies like retrieval augmented generation, that's when you need to use your data to fine tune or derive context for the models, right? And that's where you need to think about creating training data products. For planning, you can provide contextual data like what just happened in this session, what does an agent know now, what should be the next best action, and all of this data can be contextualized, and you can actually store them in short-term memory or long-term memory to provide better context for the planning component of the agent so that it can plan better. And then you must have heard about the concept of vector databases, right? This is the memory that we provide for contextual search. So think about PDFs, documents in your organization. All the knowledge that you have collected over the years in your organization can be stored in vector databases where the agent can do semantic search. When I mean semantic search, it means that the agent can search based on not only based on text, but they can based on what the search is, the result can be returned through semantically similar queries, right? And that's where vector DBs become important. And the last component is the output component, where the agent throws an output either to a human or to different systems through APIs. And that's where you think about how you manage the interaction logs. How do you productize them and make them available in a catalog so that other agents can access as, I don't know, for contextual data, right? For user profile. So, and then uh, the output component can also access branding applications, right? So you might have some guidance on how your responses, let's say you're writing an email to your customer, you must have some guidance on how your responses will be structured, what should be the messaging guideline, and all of these things can be embedded into the instruction for an output format for the agent. So you tell the agent, anytime you write an email, you follow this format, and these are the things you need to take care of. And these sort of contextual data that you provide can be productized for the agent to access over and over again. So now you understand how the different components of an AI agent interact with data. And it totally depends on your organization's prioritization. It depends on your business model. It depends on your use cases, on which part of these data assets would you want to go and productize. Now, I missed talking about the data component on tool use, right? And this component can really be anything, right? Anything external to the agent that the agent would go and search for. So it could be your databases, it could be your data lakes, it could be application databases where the agents would go and access the relevant factual data from your business context. And this is where I think you can have data products that expose APIs for the agent to go and access the data, relevant data, and have those data products on a catalog, right? And think of it as enterprise data catalog, having data products hosted, and an agent just becomes a consumer, and through tool use, the agent goes and queries the data, right? So that makes the whole ecosystem of data interaction with AI agents. Now, why data products designed just for human consumers could break for AI agents? See, as humans, we interpret data through dashboards and reports. We sometimes rely on our experience, the knowledge that we have gathered over the years working in different organizations or in this current business, and we can connect the dots. So if there's something wrong, we can connect the dot, and we can say to ourselves, okay, this part is wrong, I will correct it, or something like that, right? If a data is broken, if a data product is broken, you can still access it, and you see there's something wrong within it, you'd know that there's something wrong. You would probably report it to someone, but you still keep using the data product, right? We are normally fine with daily and weekly updates. We always wait for reports that are 1 day older, 2 days older, right? We adapt when schemas change. So if something's changed, we kind of adapt to it, right? We have that capability of of adapting to things. It's never binary for us, right? So basically, human data products for humans can be much more lenient, if you like, compared to what agents expect. Now, agents, on the other hand, they need structure, real-time APIs to act. The agent would want to act a system. It needs the API to be available. It needs the data to be available there, right? If the data is not latest, the agent doesn't care. It will just take the old data and give you something that's wrong, right? They rely on metadata to understand. They don't have any trivial knowledge unless you're investing heavily on the memory architecture, which is a different context. But if you can build that context through the memory architecture, you can build that trivial knowledge of your business within the agent. But usually, what I've seen with customers is that takes time, right? But if you want to start with some agentic use cases, you need to provide it enough metadata alongside the data that you provided so that it can derive context from that metadata. It expects near real time or event driven updates. So you need to almost be make the systems available or the data products available for the agent to access them as and when they need. It will require enforced schema contracts with versioning because, again, agents are not like humans. They cannot really adapt or adjust to things that are not right. For them, it's either right or wrong. And sometimes, if it is wrong, they would not tell you they have seen something wrong. They will just go and give you the answer, and there might be hidden, silent mistakes in that answer that you might not interpret at that moment. But in the long term, it might cause huge loss for the business. You see, 1% deviation in a model or in its results that you cannot notice can create a huge loss in the annual revenue for the business, right? If it carries on throughout the year. So the agents accessing data products need to have the products, um, mm, strictly compliant with the schema, with the contracts, and they need to be versioned properly. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about this. I need to spend a little time on this slide. What do agents really need from data? Right? I have explained briefly in the previous slide on what sort of things we are thinking about when we provide data to agents. But let's break it down a bit. Because here's the truth. What I observe is most organizations still think about data the way we have always thought about it for humans: dashboards, reports, BI queries. And now humans can interpret them. We can fill the gaps, as I mentioned, and we can add context from our own memory. But agents don't work like that. They don't interpret dashboards. They don't fill in the blanks, if you like, right? They don't guess. Agents execute. And for them to execute reliably, the data has to be structured, it has to be accessible, predictable, and observable. Now, think about how we humans access data. We can log into a BI tool, scroll through the dashboard, and figure it out. For an agent, that doesn't work. It needs autonomous access. It should be able to hit an API, pull exactly what it needs, and then act on it without anyone holding its hand. And this is where concepts like retrieval augmented generation comes in. Retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, isn't about throwing some documents into a vector database. It's about creating curated, reliable knowledge packs that agent can retrieve from on demand. And that's why I said that I see these things take time. It's not a one-off activity, right? It's another huge data engineering task that you need to invest in terms of building that knowledge base for that agent, especially in RAG architecture. And if that data is stale or if it is incomplete, the agent will confidently tell you the wrong answer, right? As I mentioned, and you will silently miss all the mistakes. So accessibility for the agent is really important. And it is really about designing data products, making APIs accessible on those data products, making vector indexes or knowledge stores that agents can consume directly. Now let's talk about resilience and predictability. And this is huge. Humans are We humans are forgiving, right? If a column name changes in a spreadsheet, we sigh and we adjust, right? But for an agent, schema drift is real, and it can be fatal. Agents expect contracts, they expect versioning, they expect rich metadata to tell them what is the field, when it was last updated, can I trust it? And this ties directly into memory architectures, as I was talking about. Agents build short term memory for conversations, what it is doing right now, what it needs to do next, and long term memory from knowledge bases, and episodic memory from logs and history. We will not dive into the memory architecture in this talk, but I'll encourage you to look into the memory architecture for agentic workflows or even generative AI. It's really interesting. Now, coming back to it, if the data feeding these different memory layers for short-term memory, long-term memory, or episodic memory isn't predictable, the whole memory stack starts to collapse. So, leaders, this is where your teams need to invest. Don't just pipe in data, treat it as a product with contracts, metadata, versioning, everything baked in. And I see data engineers tell me that they are insecure that AI will take their jobs. I mean, AI is creating more and more data engineering jobs. That's a different topic for the day. Now, the other thing that you need to think about is real-time responsiveness. And here's the difference. Humans can wait for a weekly or daily report, but agents, they need it now. Unless you put some waiting clock on top of that agent, or unless you store the state somewhere for it to come back and check later. And that's a different system engineering concept. Imagine a fraud detection agent that gets a signal after a batch run at midnight. That's useless. Fraud has already happened. Agents need near real time, event driven access. And this is where streaming systems like Kafka, DynamoDB streams, or event hubs come in. They feed the agent with signals in the moment. And yes, it comes at a cost. You will need to balance freshness, cost, and performance. But here's the leadership takeaway. Latency is business impact. If your agent can't act in time, you lose revenue, you fail in compliance, and you erode customer trust. So even before you embark into the agentic journey, you have to chalk out all of these design decisions and see whether you can implement them, how long it's going to take, what's the ROI. Now, observability is one of the most overlooked needs. For humans, silence is fine. If the report doesn't run one day, we just call IT. For agents, silence is deadly. Agents need health and status endpoints, uptime, freshness, last updated date, etc. They need that context. They need structured error codes. Otherwise, they will misinterpret errors. So you cannot just say 500 error. Like for human, it's fine. We can just call the IT and check what this error is about. But agents need to retry after 5 seconds to see if that error disappears. They need to have full context of the error, why that might have happened, so that they can self-heal. You have to design back-off strategies, right? So you need to design, fallback strategies. So you have to design what happens if something fails, what the agent should do next. And for these things, they need telemetry pipelines. They need access to every tool call, every retrieval, every token spend. Logged, trace, and also all of these things should be observable, right? So you see the whole system engineering around agentic architecture, right? Without observability, basically agents are flying blind, and you are running agents in production. When you're running agents in production, it's not an option, right? So you cannot be running them in the dark. So if you zoom out, what does all of these things mean? Leaders, when I work with leaders, they often ask me which model should we use, right? But the better question that I ask them to ask is which data products can we trust? Because the model is transient. Today it's Claude, tomorrow it's GPT, next day it will be something else. But your data products, they are durable. Those are your competitive advantage. That's why we need to start thinking of data not as a warehouse or a lake, but as a collection of products. Your RAG packs, your policy catalogs, your memory stores, your telemetry ledgers, each with owners, contracts, service level agreements, and evaluation gates. This is what makes agentic AI enterprise ready. Not just the agent itself, but the data ecosystem behind it. And if there is one message I want you to take away from this section, it's this: your agent is only as strong as the data products you give it. That's the foundation, that's the strategy, and that's how you move from AI hype to AI in production. Let's explore the maturity model for data products. This is what I've come up with. Why do we need a maturity model? Because most teams I meet think they have data products until they try wiring them into an AI agent. And suddenly, what worked fine for dashboards falls apart in automation. You need to know where you are today to create the roadmap to where you want to be. Let's take a moment to consider how traditional data products are primarily designed for human users. Human oriented level, the level one. At this stage, access is predominantly batch based. You have minimal schema enforcement and limited context. Second, the agent compatible stage. As we move forward, basic APIs begin to emerge. You need to create those APIs for accessibility. Here, you can introduce some schema validation, although human oversight remains frequently necessary. And this is where I see most organizations today. Some of them are moving to agent optimized phase, where you emphasize real time access, you enforce schemas rigorously, and incorporate context and add more metadata within the data products. I'm working with few customers who are moving to this stage, and it's, believe me, it's a lot of work. You need to think about a lot of design architecture decisions to be able to move this to this phase. Now, finally, at agent native level, which is very optimistic in today's age, but there are really advanced organizations who are going into this stage. Uh, they develop data products specifically designed for agents. In this stage, includes semantic guarantees and enhanced observability that I talked about, and this ensures that context is deeply embedded into your data products. And this maturity model underscores the essential evolution needed to effectively meet the demand of AI agents, if not today, in the future. Now, as we proceed, consider where your organization currently fits within this model. And a good way of doing this is looking at this this diagram. If you look on the left, I've come up with this five dimensions, if you like, right? And these are the dimensions that I think you need to think about how you make your data product ready for agents. As I described earlier, data access is important, schema rigor is important, metadata is very, very important for context, error handling, having defining errors properly, having fallback strategies, etc., and observability. All of these dimensions should be baked in into your agents. Now, if you look at the labeling that I've done on the dots as you move from left to right. So as you move from left to right, you become matured towards the agent native data product system, right? So from human oriented to agent native. Now, if you look at these dots that I've done, each of these dots, I've labeled them with what you need to think about, basically, right? Now, I have written blogs in Substack where I go in much more details of what sort of things you need to think about when you design data products for each of these stage. But these are basically just pointers, right? Um, for example, in data access, you need to think about if you have got ad hoc batch exports today, how do you move to providing basic APIs on top of your data? How do you move from batch to online? And then you need to think about how do you move to real-time APIs and streaming? And then you need to think about how do you move to self-serve and natural language. Same with schema rigor. From having ad hoc schema management, how can you implement some basic schema management, especially on your important data products, your critical data products, or data products where you think agents will come in and start consuming in the future? Then how do you move to strict schema and data contracts? How do you move to schema, semantic schema and ontologies? So I will not go through each and every level here. This is something that you can take away. Take a screenshot. If I share the slide, then you can use this or refer to my blog. I have got it laid down in much more deeper details that you can read and find out how to do how to plan for these things, right? Okay, now as we move from this assessment framework, that assessment framework will inform some implementation roadmap for you, right? Now, when we talk about implementation, we break it down into four key areas. First, we talk about foundation. This is where we establish the basic structure ownership and access for our data products. And it's crucial that we lay a strong groundwork here. Next is standardization. During this phase, we will apply consistent practices, schema, and governance across all teams. This consistency is essential for ensuring that our data products are reliable and manageable. Then we move to optimization. In this stage, our focus will be enhancing performance, enabling real time access, and improving agent integration. This is where we really start to see the benefits of our earlier work that we have done. Finally, we reach the innovation stage where we enable adaptive, intelligent, and agent native data experiences. This is the exciting part where we implement cutting edge solutions that can transform your data landscape. Each phase unfolds as each of these phases unfold from foundational elements to innovative practices, we are setting ourselves for success and ensuring data products meet the needs of our users effectively, not just humans but agents. And as you do them in stages, you have to measure some metrics so that you understand the outcome of each of these stages. And um, the other thing I wanted to mention here is that you don't have to lay out the foundation for everything. Think about doing vertical slices using use case. So you start small and go through everything, right? So you work backwards from a use case that is important for your business, and you think should be ready for an agentic future. Then take that use case, figure out what data products you need for that use case, and then go through each of these stages on that slice. Complete the whole journey for one. While you do that, you build the underlying infrastructure to repeat this for other use cases, right? So start small, build the infrastructure, and then scale with other use cases. Now, when I talk to customers, they ask me what sort of metrics do you need to measure throughout this process, right? And the way I like to slice it is in technical, agentic, and business sense, right? So in technical, you already would know about it. Like you would need to measure the obvious metrics like the data quality index, the API performance, the API performance, the freshness of data, the schema changes, and observability coverage, right? So how much of the logs you're covering, have you got enough of observability into your systems and data products. And then from the business perspective, you think about the decision speed, the cost savings, the revenue opportunities enabled through these kind of systems, user satisfaction, customer satisfaction, compliance and risk metrics, right? So you have to think about from technical and business. And finally, the agent metrics, right? So when you start building agents and have these agents interact with your data products, you have to measure agent adoption, right? That's one of the major metrics that I talk to customers about. Are they being adopted? Are they being used? Are they being, are they actually um, helping you save cost, helping you make decisions faster? Are your customers satisfied as they are coming into these systems? Agent query volume, right? Um, how many queries are these agent handling? What is the success rate? How many times are they failing? What is the error interaction rate? So when they fail, what happens? Are they able to interact? Are they able to interpret errors? Are they able to self heal? And then the integration effort that you need to put to for these agents to actually talk with your data and rest of your infrastructure. So these are not the like the metrics. These are the mental models, if you like, but they will boil down to certain metrics that uh, you should observe while you go through those different implementation stages. Now, the final thing is about people. Like, what sort of theme are we talking about through these different models? So I have created these metrics. Again, you can take these metrics and refer to it later on. But the way I see at it is roles, team structure, governance, and then through each level. So in terms of level one, you can see you can do without a product owner, without a data product owner. Data is mainly managed by IT. That's what I see with customers who are in this level. They can be centralized, single-threaded team structure. IT has got some data people or IT people doing data things. And then one team manages everything. It's bottlenecked into one team. And then the governance is ad hoc. There is no formal governance in place. Where I see most customers today is in level two, where there might be a data product manager or a data manager or data steward. There are small data product teams. Maybe they are still in IT, but there is like smaller team with data engineers, maybe a data scientist and some business analysts or data analysts. but they still have the same team, one team handling data for different domains in the business. The governance is centralized. Some use some standard rules for governance, but they are mostly on policy documents, not embedded into the architecture. And then the governance is light, but building maturity, right? The third level is where I see ML engineers coming in, AI specialists coming in. They are now organization is investing more into AI and ML, and the data engineers are much more mature. You might have some data ops admins and SREs for looking into the observability and automating some of these data productization. You will see in terms of team, there would be a data platform team. Now the data team is not usually separate with the CDO in place. It's mostly hub and spoke. So domain data product teams are the spokes, and then there's a central data platform team as a hub. The data mesh architecture concepts come in here. In terms of governance, there is a data governance board, a board that looks into governance policies globally, but there is also automated governance tools to automate some of these policies, embed them into the data product lifecycle and the architecture. And finally, agent native. To be honest, not many organizations are there right now. I don't work with many customers who are in this. There are customers who are actually moving to this, but normally you will find knowledge engineers, ontology specialists, AI ops people, prompt engineers coming in this level. And you need to, when you move from these levels, you have to think about how you build these skills within your organization or how you plan to hire for them, right? The architecture becomes more federated, like a federated data mesh. There is an AI center of excellence enabling the team, but AI is not, the AI knowledge is not just restricted to the COE. The AI knowledge, the AI literacy is spread out through every team. The domain experts understand how AI works, not at a technical level, but through how it aligns with their roles, right? Um, mm, and then the governance is more federated. The capabilities are mostly automated in this phase. So again, use these metrics to see where you are today and how you can plan for team structures and roles. And this is basically very high level. I talk about it in more details in my blog. With that, I will end this session here. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you need more insights, I share a lot of insights around AI and data on my LinkedIn through daily posts. I have a newsletter called agentbuild.ai where I share articles and weekly newsletters. You can register on that. And you will find these 4 blogs on the newsletter as well around data products. I will also send some links for you to refer to. But thank you for listening to me. I wish you all the best. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just message me and I will help you out. Thank you.
Access the Modern Data Masterclass for free on moderndata101.com/masterclass.